Here are 5 players to sell in Dynasty Fantasy Football heading into the 2025 season. And the last one, it'll shock you. All right, number 5, Deebo Samual. San Francisco 49ers for now, given permission to request a trade, may not be there for long. And I think that's one of the other selling points here. But Deebo Samuel will be 29 years old this year. Coming off a season last year, he played 15 games, 802 scrimmage yards, 4 touchdowns, even back in 2023. 15 games, that was great. 1,117 yards, 12 touchdowns. Touchdowns were great there. But as you remember, Deebo Samuel had that career year in 2021. He has not been the same player since. He plays a very physical style of football. Yes, he's been on the field more than not, but often when he's playing, he's nicked up less than 100%, and he is in decline because of all the beatings he's taken over the years. And that said, if he leaves San Francisco, think about that. We have a player who has thrived under Kyle Shanahan's system that has used Samuel's skill sets perfectly, getting him into space, schemed open, yards after the catch. So between the age, the decline, and probably being on a new team, Deebo has some name value still. And some people are still going to think you can recapture the magic that he had years ago, and him not being 30 years old yet, people might buy into that. So this is the time to sell Deebo Samuel. Number 4, Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos. Now, Sutton had a great year last year, but Bo Nix only attempted 567 passes. And think about it. That's how Sean Payton wants it. He wants to run the football. And the running game was not good last year for the Broncos. They will work on that. Either they bring in people or they develop players they drafted. They'll get that working a little bit better. But also think about this. Last year down the stretch, Denver started to integrate Devon Vele and Marvin Mims more down the stretch, especially after that Week 14 bye. Now, going into that bye, Sutton had a string of 6 games at least 70 yards. After the bye, when other players were involved, 55 yards or less in 3 of the last 4 games. So we see a situation where they probably run the ball more. They probably spread the targets more. And Sutton matching that 135 targets going forward, probably not possible. Also throw in the fact Sutton's going to be 30 early in the 2025 season. So between, again, a system that's probably not going to give him that heavy volume, aging, which is coming, and we realize it was almost a career year that Sutton had. 2019 was close. That said, this is a perfect time to sell Courtland Sutton while people think he's going to be a factor for maybe a few more years. Number 3, Terry McLaurin of the Washington Commanders. Now, McLaurin will turn 30 early in the 2025 season, just like Courtland Sutton will. Now, McLaurin's coming off the best season of his career for fantasy. Here's the deal. If you look at his yardage and receptions, McLaurin had the same year he had almost every year during his career. He's always around 80 catches, always around 1,100 yards. And those are great numbers. But McLaurin's fantasy value for both redraft and dynasty has gone up because of the Jaden Daniels connection. But really, what was different? 13 touchdowns is what was different. McLaurin had 25 total in the prior 5 years, and then you come in with a 13. That skews the numbers. McLaurin's starting to age. We know he's a great player, but again, if he doesn't match that touchdown number, and those are really hard to bet on, he's the same player he was, and the value he can be acquired for if you're sending him out in a trade, then I think you could get more for him than he's worth on your roster right now. Number 2, Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, Taylor he put up great numbers last year, 1,567 scrimmage yards, 12 touchdowns. And you're like, well, why would you trade him? I get it. But here, Taylor's missed 16 games over the last 3 years. Also, the underlying numbers. The broken tackle rate, which is normally stellar for him, 26th percentile. Yards after contact, 29th percentile. First 2 years of Taylor's career, he had like a 5 and a 5.5 yards per carry. 4.7 was last year, and that was his high watermark since then. The injuries are catching up. He's not the same player he was. He's still 26 years old, so he has a lot of value in the dynasty community because of that age. But the injuries are piling up. The durability is going to be an issue. And if these injuries keep coming, the effectiveness is going to continue to get chipped away with. And you could get quite a bit for trade it with Taylor. So go ahead and make that move now and let people deal with the fallout of the continued likelihood of injuries. Number one, and I know this is going to shock a lot of you. Don't be mad at me. Puka Nacua of the Los Angeles Rams. Now, look, it's crazy to suggest selling a young player who's been fantasy gold for his 2 years in the league. But listen to this. Nacua is in a situation possibly. The Rams are talking about trading Matthew Stafford, and Stafford's aging. So one way or the other, Stafford could either be traded, Stafford could continue to age and decline. He's banged up a lot. That could be a problem. First, downgrading quarterback could be a real issue. The other thing is this. Do we really trust Sean McVay is going to stick around long? Yes, the Rams had a good season in 2024. But if Stafford either gets traded, declines more, it's going to be much more difficult for Sean McVay to get the team he wants out of there. And we know he almost left the Rams after that Super Bowl season a few years back. So these are potential factors. If you don't think any of these are going to happen, then hang on to Nacua. But if you think that this is possible, imagine an offense that I believe Sean McVay is a big reason why Nakua's had the success he's had. He's a great player, but I believe scheming him open in a perfect way has just been an ideal landing spot. So if you feel that either McVay potentially leaving as a coach or Stafford, with great ball placement is going to be an issue if he's gone or depleted, then this might be a great time. You could get a haul for Puka Nacua, and that may not be a bad time to sell.